Today on Ask the Oracle podcast, we're awakening the elements, the magical wisdom of White Raven. Embark on a journey of transformation and healing with my dear friend Rachelle Paton as she unveils the secrets of shamanism and the wisdom of the elements. In this enlightening episode of Ask the Oracle, we are honoured to host the incredible Rachelle Paton, also known as Wahn or White Raven. With over 3 decades of experience in various healing modalities, Rach shares her profound spiritual journey and transformation. Discover the magic of shamanism, the wisdom of nature, and the power of self-love as Rach recounts her extraordinary adventures, including her sacred initiation in Peru. Yay! Hi, Rach. How are you, my love?
I'm well, thank you, Suzy. How are you?
So good. I can't wait for our conversation today. I love and adore everything you do. And it's just been such an honor and a privilege to witness your journey. And yay, we've just got so much to talk about. So let's dive straight into these questions. So, Rach, can you share a bit about your background and what inspired you to embrace the path of shamanism and healing?
Well, I've been on the healing journey for a really long time, but what drew me to shamanism is I was very, very unwell. I'd been on the lounge with chronic fatigue for at least 3 years. I had adrenal fatigue and I found it hard to get up off the lounge, and I tried everything you can imagine, from mainstream medical advice and lots of other things as well that's a little bit out there, and nothing worked, and I'd given up hope. And somebody had mentioned plant medicines, and so I googled plant medicines and I came across an incredible teacher in Australia, who doesn't do plant medicines in Australia, by the way, because they should be taken where they're grown. And
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
yeah, so I contacted him and set up a healing weekend. And after one weekend with this shaman, who I was very skeptical when I went in, I was like, I've tried everything, and I can't say that I've tried everything if I haven't. So I went there thinking I didn't have any hope, to be honest. It was just ticking the box. And I arrived and I spent a weekend of healing. And when I left there, I was quite still drained and didn't think that it had worked. And the next morning I woke up and I had energy. It's like somebody had switched the power on, and
Oh,
I
really?
haven't looked back. So a little bit before I went to the shamanic healing, I had plans of ending my life, and I didn't see it as suicide. I seen it as putting myself out of my misery, and I thought my family would be better off, etc., etc. You know, you hear those stories. And after that weekend, my whole life has just changed, and I've had energy ever since. So it was a natural calling for me. I thought, what is this magic? And that's where my journey with shamanism began.
I love that your backstory underpins, your healing journey, but also the ability to have deep understanding, wisdom, and compassion for others that are searching for deeper meaning in their lives or profound healing, or whatever it may be. I think it definitely makes it more credible that having that life experience. So thank you so much for sharing that. I was going to ask you who or what has been the most influential force in your spiritual journey, but obviously that was the pivotal moment for you. Do you believe that? Like that was the turning point?
Yeah, it feels like that. I know it sounds funny, but it feels like it was always meant to be that way.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I am sitting in this seat where I am now. I can see that everything in my life, all the traumas, everything that I've experienced was meant to be, and to get me to where I am now.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So you and I both absolutely love nature and the elemental wisdom. When we first met, we kind of connected on that kind of beautiful kind of power animal totem level where, you know, you felt that real resonance to the raven, and so did I. And from there on, you know, we've called each other the Raven Sisters. So I just love that so much. So how do you connect with the elements in your daily spiritual practices? Can you share that?
yeah, sure. So as a shaman, I'm still new calling myself a shaman. Um, yeah, a shamanic medicine woman is my preference now.
I
I
love
love
that
that.
so
Just resonates.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So we connect with the elements every day, and whether that's barefoot on the grass, I attempt to connect with all four elements every day in some way, whether it's walking, whether it's meditating, whether it's calling them in when I'm doing a healing. That they're just part of everything that I do in all ways. Yeah. So and I do that consciously.
Oh, I
It's a
love that. So
conscious
it's very
decision.
deliberate. Yeah,
Yes, it's very
yeah.
deliberate. Yeah,
I
each
love that
element
so
has
much.
their
Yeah.
own spirit, and they are so sacred, and they are so different, and they work so beautifully together in a way that I can't describe.
Yeah,
Magic
I
is
love
the
that.
best I've got.
Oh, you know, the elements are so powerful, and we're not separate to, you know, to nature, to the elements, when people say, I'm going out into nature or I'm connecting with nature, we pretty much are nature, aren't we? So
We are.
elemental magic, I call it, elemental wisdom. I love to weave that into my spiritual practices as well, but I love, what do you call yourself again? It's really beautiful. So tell me again, Rach, what is it?
Shamanic medicine woman.
I love that so much. When you say that, I just get tingles. I just get the spidey sense, the tingles. And I'll tell you why. Because over the years, I've done a lot of shamanic journeying, but mainly with men.
Yeah.
And they've been amazing, don't get me wrong. But I'm just so excited that the sacred feminine is rising into this beautiful kind of shamanic medicine woman space. And you're the right person for the job, my love. So it's just so
Oh,
exciting. I just wanted to share how I felt about that.
thank you.
Um, yeah. So the shamanic journey, what does it mean to be a shamanic medicine woman, especially as a woman in this sacred practice? So yeah, if you can kind of delve a bit deeper into that for us. I think there's a lot of women out there that are very guided towards that beautiful kind of shamanic practice and elemental magic and nature and earth medicine and all of that. So yeah, what does it mean to be a shamanic healer as a woman?
So, well, for me, it's making a conscious decision to live with the planet, not on the planet. I really view the earth as our mother. You hear in a lot of traditions with Mother Earth, and that's very real for me. So, being a shamanic medicine woman for me, it's who I am. It's in every cell of my body, and it's not just of this world. It's There's a connection with other shamanic medicine women,
Yes,
um, that have been past, present, and future.
I love that.
It's like a collective, and that became very apparent during my initiation. That it's not a lone journey, and I'm never on my own. when you step into this space that I'm in, you are held, you are so held, and you don't get anything that you can't deal with. Like there's some things that I think, oh my goodness, and me here as the physical 3D being Rachel, wouldn't have a clue what to do or how to do it. But I'm never alone. And the minute I am unsure, I ask, and I am so supported. And it's hard to put words on it. It's like a collective. It's like I'm part of a collective. And that's the best way I can describe it. I'm part of something that's way bigger than me. Yeah.
I love that so much. You know, that beautiful ancestral tree,
Yeah.
lineage, wisdom. You
Yeah.
know, I had the most amazing healing with Rach at a retreat in Queensland. This is where we first met, and it was out on the grass in the elements, and it was very sacred. And look, you know, I've been doing this for 25 years, so basically I've seen it all, if that makes sense. So, but this particular experience was life-changing. So, and to me, it felt very reverent, sacred, and I did sense the beautiful ancient grandmothers and just that beautiful kind of incredible wisdom that, you know, as you said, past, present, future. I love that so much. So I'm going to ask you something, and this is really exciting for me because I'm so just in awe of your trip to Peru. So can you describe your initiation experience in magnificent Peru and how it transformed you? And, you know, I guess deepened your practice, or, you know, I know it wouldn't have been easy.
No.
I know, you know, shamanism's often about, you know, the cracking open and the crumbling before the rebuild and the regrowth can happen. So I'd love to hear about that, Rach.
Okay. So I journeyed to Peru as part of um, my shamanic practice. So to become initiated, I needed to go to Peru. And I didn't have a huge draw to go until I'd heard a story from somebody else about different dimensions and stuff. And I thought, okay, let's do it. I'm going to do this. And it was a calling. And when you hear the calling, it gets louder and louder and louder. And life gets very difficult if you don't follow that calling.
I know all
When
about
I
that. Yep.
Yeah. When I arrived, my first journey, Mother Aya, and I communicated with Mother Aya prior to going. And that's very hard to explain because I can't make heads or tails of it. So I'm not even going to try. And my first journey, Mother Aya said to me, "So you want to be a shaman? Let's have a look. Let's see about that." And she took me on a journey where she looked into every part of my heart, body, mind, and soul. And she she pulled things out of the closet, like core beliefs that I had, things that I believed 100%. Pulled them out of the closet like clothes and said, "So what
Yeah.
about this one? Are you willing to let go of this one?" And it
Yeah.
became very apparent to me that when we know something, we lose the ability to see it a different way. And yeah, so it was a big journey. And she found parts of me that I'd kept hidden, and when I came back I needed to integrate those. So I was integrating for quite some time when I got back.
Yes, of
It's
course.
a
Yeah.
big powerful medicine, and Mother Aya is the most loving medicine I can ever imagine. And she's so loving, she will take you to places that are very, very uncomfortable, and she'll do it in a way that's for your highest good, if that makes sense.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes so much
Um,
sense.
yeah. So and during this course, so where we went, we it was a 12-day I don't know what you'd call it, retreat, and you take the medicine 6 times. And I was very, very sensitive to the medicine. So my first experience was quite confronting. So, and I won't go right into it here, but it was very, very tough. And my understanding of the medicine is she knows what your intention is. She knows why you're going there. And anybody who is initiating as a shaman does it tougher than those who are not. Because when you're initiating as a shaman, you're connecting to the past, present, future shamans, and there's a real magic in that.
Yes, yeah.
And not just anybody can use that, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And yeah, so it's like you've got to be found worthy of that. So experiencing that interaction with Mother Aya, and I still feel her every day. She's still part of everything I do, and her wisdom is now embedded in my cells in a way and that I also can't explain.
Goosebumps again.
Yeah. So I've lost track of what I was going to say, but
so Mother Aya, can you just explain? I think you've explained who she is, but can you kind of delve a bit deeper as to who she actually is? Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, and I'm not sure how it is for anybody else, but for me, I believe she's the original medicine woman. Yeah.
Fabulous.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
And there's things that she can do that, you know, that you'd read in a novel or something and think this is
I
not
get
real.
it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when on the journey, you become I became part of a vibration, and that vibration matches with Mother Aya's vibration. I'm here. I know why I'm here. I know what my purpose is, and those vibrations are a match. If that makes sense.
It makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about spiritual growth and challenges. I know that you experienced a very dramatic challenge in Peru, but the rewards are infinite. So what were some of the most profound challenges you faced on your spiritual journey, and how did you kind of overcome them? I love that you talked about, when you think you know something, do you actually know it? Is it preventing you from being inquisitive and open to that naked, bare truth? I know you didn't say it that way, but that's how I interpreted that. So what have been some of the challenges for you, and what advice could you give to others that are kind of facing those challenges throughout their spiritual journey?
My biggest piece of advice to anyone is to surrender. And that sounds, like a bit tongue in cheek, but when you surrender, you let go of the knowing.
Yeah.
I've once seen, when you see things on Facebook or whatever, and there was a person on one side and a person on the other side, and on
Yes.
one side there was a 6, and on the other side it was the 9, and that image
Yes.
that has stayed with me, because when you know it's a 9, it loses the ability to be a 6, because
That's the perfect
it's a
way to
9.
describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in every challenge I've had, and I've had a lot of challenges in my spiritual journey, and it started in my 20s, and I can look back in hindsight and see that if I had have surrendered, things would have been much, much easier, or much, much different. But most of them I came from, like, I know I just got to do this, or I've just got to do that, or I've just got to do this,
Yes.
that,
It's that fight or flight too. When you've
Yeah, yeah,
experienced, trauma, there's often that fight or flight.
yes,
When surrender self-trust, you know, yeah, just actually kind of allowing that the power of allowing.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because it does sound simplistic, but it's actually incredibly potent if you can learn to surrender, fully surrender. Um, as opposed to forcing, pushing, fighting, you know,
Yeah.
the fighting, you know, and
Yeah.
I think you and I both have that little awakened rebel inside of us. So I've noticed that about us. So yeah, you know, we'll kind of yeah, be that warrior woman and do what we need to do at the time, or what we think we need to do. But really, the most powerful energy is the energy of surrender. Yeah,
Yeah.
love it. So
So
cool.
a perfect example is my weight loss journey. Um,
Yes.
so I'm now 62 kilos lighter than I was. And I can tell you, I tried everything. So, and in my mind, it was about diet and exercise. And,
Yes. You know,
and
lose that
those,
weight,
yeah,
do
yeah,
that punishing
controlling,
exercise,
yeah,
starve yourself, you know?
yeah. I
Yeah.
ran 18 kilometers when I was about 115 kilos. And the trauma on my body from that, but I was forcing myself to do these things. I'd had 2 weight loss surgeries that failed, and I had all of this stuff going on, and nothing would shift the weight. And when I went, well, it started with going to Orion, my teacher, and I went, and weight started to very gently come off. And then I went and did a breathwork teacher training in Thailand. And I had this experience in breathwork where I um, had what I call a positive brain trauma. It's where I had all of this. It might have been 10 seconds, but it just flashed up all of this abuse I'd given to myself, from getting smacked as a little girl and saying, "Haha, it didn't hurt," and getting smacked again. And so I sort
Yes.
of would
Yeah.
opt out of my physical body. And in this session, my body got a voice, and I heard it for the first time. And when I recognized how abusive and the situations I'd put myself in and all of that
Yes.
kind of stuff to my body, I made the decision that I was just going to love it exactly as it was. No more trying to lose weight, no more diets, no more anything like that. And
Yeah.
I was just going to love it completely as it was.
I love that.
And when that happened, it was a surrender. And the weight's just come off without diet, without exercise, without putting any thoughts or energy into it, in a way that's just extraordinary. And
That metamorphosis, that is an extreme metamorphosis. And we often talk about the power of self-love, but
yeah,
it can sound a little bit like a cliche affirmation that you read on a, you know, the back
it
of a
does.
coaster or something, right? But
Yeah,
you actually live it and um, embody it and personify it. And
yeah,
I love that, you know, it's more about having that deep self-compassion as
yeah,
opposed to the self-punishment, as
yeah.
opposed to the self-sabotage, the whatever, you know. I just find it so inspiring. Your story is so inspiring. Um, yeah. So how do
I
you
want to.
maintain balance and harmony in your life now?
So
Like, what are you doing now? Because I know you walk your talk. So what are you actually
yeah.
doing now, in the here and now?
So I always look at everything from body, heart, mind, and soul. So we have 4 bodies, and I think Anthony Robbins described it best. That is, we're like a vehicle, and our body, heart, mind, and soul are like the tires, and we're going to get much, much more out of our vehicle if they're all in good order and taken care of.
Exactly.
And so I look at, in everything I do, whether it's shamanic healing, whether it's
Yeah,
breath work, like whatever I'm doing, I'm looking at the 4 bodies. And so my physical body is connected with earth, the element, the sacred element of earth. And my emotional body is connected with the sacred element of water. And the mind body, I connect it with the air element, and the spirit is the fire. And they all need something every day, you know, like our physical body needs food and water every day. So I look at what do the other bodies need each day, you know, and that's in everything that I do. Yeah, whether
I
it's
love that
yeah,
multi-dimensional approach because everything's so interconnected, you know, the emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, energetic, you know, ancestral lineage. Like it's everything is completely connected.
yeah,
Oh, when you explained, you know, the different bodies connected, or as I should say, as elements, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool.
oh, my pleasure. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, everything is so connected.
so
That Yeah,
connected.
it is so connected.
Once you understand
Yeah,
that, it's like if you keep trying to put a band-aid on the physical
yeah,
and you're not
yeah,
doing the deep emotional work,
yeah,
or deep emotional healing, or you're not doing, you know, the deep mental healing, or you're not doing the deep spiritual healing, or you're not looking at your ancestral patterns, or you know, whatever it might be. Yeah, it's not going to work. Not going to
no,
work, is it?
no. And that's apparent from my weight loss journey. So I can see now in hindsight that my weight, the blocks were in my soul. My soul was completely shut down. I
Yeah,
wasn't doing anything to feed my soul. I was just existing in this 3D world, you know, going about what needs to be done, you know. And everybody's got the story, you know,
yeah,
the kids, the husband, the work, the house,
yeah,
and you know, all of that kind of stuff. And we get so caught up in that that we forget that there's a whole body there that's just so magical and incredible. And yeah, I,
yeah.
I just feel
Amazing.
so blessed. Yeah, and if you look at my journey, if I look at my journey to where I am now, everything feels like it was just all meant to be that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's happened in my life that I would
Oh,
change.
exactly. You know, it
Yeah,
happens. Tony Robbins said this too. He's coming through for both of us today, which is interesting.
yeah,
But you know, it happens for us, not to us, right?
yeah,
Like, you know, and lessons aren't always light and fluffy. Sometimes they're excruciating. Sometimes they're joyful.
yeah,
Sometimes they're, you know, the night and day, the winter,
yeah,
summer, not the good or bad, you know, it's but, you know, I kind of believe that we choose our lessons before we come into this incarnation.
yeah,
And then we get down here and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that was going to be quite that hard.
yeah,
You know, for whatever reason, you know, is it, you know, forgiveness? Is it surrender? Is it unconditional love? Is it, who knows what it is, what the lessons are? But yeah, I want to talk a little bit now about divine connection. How do you personally connect with, you know, the divine, or your beautiful mother or higher power? What advice would you give someone seeking to deepen their spiritual connection, my love?
So one of the things I really love doing is connecting with the earth barefoot. I, I
Yes.
I love going for a walk of a morning and taking the shoes off and standing in the water and, you know, connecting with the four elements. And when I do that, I just automatically connect into something that's bigger than myself. And
Oh, perfect answer.
this, yeah, there's so many ways. That's my favorite. Yeah,
Do you know what I love about that is it's doable, you
yeah,
know, you can integrate that into your everyday, you
yeah.
know. Ritual doesn't have to be complicated.
No,
I think the most grounded spiritual practice is sustainable. You can
yeah,
sustain it. Um, the way you explained that, that's just so perfect. That's so great. So let's talk a little bit about guiding others now. So, what's the most rewarding aspect of guiding others on their spiritual paths? Yeah, so can you share a kind of memorable experience from your work that profoundly impacted you and the receiver, the recipient, I guess, too? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the most impactful. So this person is somebody that I'd known for a really, really long time, and to be honest, they're the only person. And suicide was an issue for this person, constantly wanting to suicide. And with the things that were happening in this person's life, I sometimes thought, wow, they would be better off if they were out of that misery, because it wasn't just one thing. It was
Oh,
things
yeah.
happening, body, heart, mind, and soul. And honestly, if you had a pet that was experiencing that, you wouldn't let it suffer. And
Yes.
anyway, I attempted to do healings for this person quite a few times, and spirit said no, no, no. And it was very frustrating, because as a healer, you want to heal, you want to do something. When somebody's
Yes.
experiencing so much suffering,
You want to help. Yeah.
you want to help. Yeah, like it's instinctual. You want to
Yeah.
help. And I guess the lesson for this, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it, is
Yeah.
that don't ever write anybody off. No matter where they're at, don't ever write them off, because one day spirit said yes. And I
Oh,
did this healing.
wow.
Yeah, I did this healing for this
Goosebumps.
person.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, and this person's life has changed in a way that I could not have imagined. It's gone from constant suicidal thoughts, and being in psych wards, and
Yeah.
and I'm talking extreme,
I
to
understand.
somebody who constantly posts how amazing life is and things like that now.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
So
great.
yeah,
It's so rewarding, and it's not the ego, it's the actual just gratitude and knowing that it's a privilege and an honor to support
oh,
people through their
dark,
healing. Yeah,
through their dark night of the soul, I call it.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When people are at that space where they just don't imagine that life can be any better. There's no light at the end of the tunnel for some people, and to be able to support somebody, or and I need to say, it's not me. It's 100% not me. I do not do the healings. Spirit
I'm
works
glad you
through me.
touched on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel really passionate about that, because if it was just me doing it, like, who knows what would happen. But spirit works through me, and spirit has this wisdom that I don't have. Like, I would have done the healings, I think it was like 8 times or something I tried to do this healing,
Yes.
and it was no, 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 and trusting that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so the spirit works through you in a way that connects with somebody when they're ready.
That is so true.
And yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
they think they're ready, but they're not quite there yet. So
It's part of
it's
their
like,
learning journey, and you can't kind of impose.
yeah,
Yeah, they have to be ready. The timing,
yeah,
we talk about divine timing all the time, but it's actually a real thing.
yeah,
People have to
yeah,
be, they're on their learning journey, and they have to be kind of, the timing does have to be right for them
yes,
to receive it and accept it and open up to it. And I guess, the big word is surrender to it.
yes,
As
yeah,
you know, Rach, I taught Reiki for many years, and the biggest challenge, teaching Reiki is explaining to people that they are not doing the healing.
yes,
If someone says they have a sore leg, right, and they're focusing all their healing energy on that sore leg,
yeah,
but, it's not really about the sore leg. Perhaps it's about the fact that they can't move forward in their life, right? Or,
yeah,
spirit, you know, yeah, I know that we want to be really deliberate and intentional about healing, but the bottom line is, we are just the conduit, the channel for the healing.
yeah, yes,
And it is about getting out of our own way and allowing spirit to do the work.
yeah,
I'm so glad you touched on that, because, once again, you and I are in sync in how we feel about that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And also, when a person's soul, so they heal themselves. So I channel the spirit,
yeah,
but they heal themselves, if that
yeah,
makes sense. So their higher
yes,
self brings
exactly.
in spirit through me.
Yes,
That's the way I look at it.
yeah,
And when they're ready, they do the healing. They heal themselves. They
Yeah.
get the lessons. They get the aha. Oh, that's what that was about. Like you mentioned
Yeah.
the leg about moving forward. It's so, so correct. Like
Yeah.
it's the body is the barometer of the soul. I think there might
Yes.
even be a book called that somewhere.
I love that.
I think Annette
You know.
Noontil. And so
Yeah.
everything that we have going on in our physical bodies is a manifestation of something else. And if you and there's definitely a place for modern medicine and all of that kind of stuff where
Exactly. Yeah.
where we sometimes need the band-aid.
You need to marry
And
the science and the spirit.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
the spirit and the
definitely.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. But what happened before, like a disease originated? What happened? Like why is this playing out in this physical body? And when people go, I completely understand that.
Yeah. I often
Yeah,
say to people too, and sometimes it kind of like they go, What? What do you mean? Like it's like I go, Oh, okay, so how is that serving you? And they
yeah,
go, What do you mean? It's not serving me. You know,
yeah,
a bad back is not serving me, or anxiety is not serving me, or migraines aren't serving me. But often in some weird way, it is serving you. I know that when I used to work crazy 100-hour weeks in the corporate world,
yeah,
I used to get, migraines once a month, and I'm pretty sure it was my body going, Suze, you need to slow down. You need
yeah,
to put yourself in a dark room for 3 days, and you need to
yeah,
have deep rest. Otherwise, this is going to kill you, So, I think understanding too that often illness is a sign from spirit that, there's something much, much deeper going on. And
yeah,
even my doctor agrees with me that most physical illness is manifested through the emotional body.
yes,
So even science kind of um, medical science often is quite reactive. What Rach and I do is more proactive. It's more, it's more that multidimensional healing to
yeah,
accelerate the body's
yeah,
own regeneration power, I suppose. What do you reckon?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I agree. So anybody who has an extreme thing happening in their physical bodies, whether it's diabetes or cancer or what have you, I I would encourage to look at healing on 4 levels: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual.
yes,
And like our the way our medicine is now, if we go to the doctor, it can sometimes be an amazing, beautiful way to help heal the physical body.
yeah,
But you need to go deeper than that. You need to look at the
exactly.
emotions, and you need to look at the spiritual, and you need to look at the mind and
Yeah,
see what's going on here. Why did this manifest in my body? And if you look at it from 4 levels and you heal it from 4 levels. So with my weight loss, for example, I was only looking in 2 levels. I was looking at the mind body and the physical body, and I was ignoring the emotional and the spiritual. And
yes, yeah.
that was
And
the key.
sometimes when you think you're doing it, like between the ages of 16 and 23, I had a dreadful eating disorder.
Yeah.
Because I was a classical ballerina, and we were told to eat 1 Vita a day with Vegemite, because you had to
Wow. Yeah.
be like super thin, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, honestly, the epiphany for me was that, the punishment, the self-punishment. Like, why was
Yeah.
I punishing myself? What was going on there? And of course, when you do the work, it goes right back to childhood. It goes right back to, whatever it might be. And it's not about blame. You're not blaming anyone because everybody's doing the best they can at the time. But it's more
No.
about, doing that deeper, multi-dimensional work, which means you peel back the layer and the layer and the layer. But
Yes.
yeah, so cool. I love talking about this stuff. It's so good.
Yes, so do
Your future vision and legacy, my love, what current projects? And I know that you've got I don't know, like, I know that you've got some really exciting things that you're working on, some future plans. What are you
Yeah.
excited about at the moment, do you think?
Okay. So what's come into my consciousness at this point in time is really supporting people to do that pre-7 work. And by that, I mean really explore. Most of us are functioning on pre-7 programming beliefs that we took on, as we were being born, or, that we
Yeah.
got before we turned
Or
7
we
years old.
inherited them.
Yeah, or we inherit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we've got these programs running that we don't even know are running. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my passion right now, and I've really noticed a difference because in my early 20s, I did a lot of pre-7 inner child stuff, and so people that I interacted with them, when I do a healing for those that have done that pre-7 stuff and they look at their beliefs and where they came from and where
Yes.
they originated, their healings are so different than somebody who hasn't. So at this point in time, I'm looking at incorporating that pre-7 work for
Yes.
people or with people, so they get an idea. Because if you get somebody who has a certain program, it, and one of my original teachers from Phoenix Rising, Graham, used to say this all the time. He used to say, "You can't pour fresh milk on sour." And so
Exactly.
that pre-7 work, it's like clearing out that sour milk. And that's not to say that learning the stuff that you're learning now is no good and won't matter, because
Yeah.
once you've learned something, you've learned something. But
That's
when
it.
that basis or that foundation is the fresh milk, it takes on a different ball game. So
What a
yeah,
great
so
way to
that's
describe it. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
putting when the tower is crumbling, when the body is in pain and kind of feels like it's crumbling, and then you just kind of put, a dodgy extension on it, right? Like
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
like it might work temporarily, a painkiller might take the pain away in the short term, but really it's not doing anything.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
masking the pain, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, so my passion was reignited for that pre-7 stuff. I just recently did some rebirthing and breathwork training, and yeah, and remembering stuff that I'd learnt years and years ago. Um, and it just made so much sense, because I'd ask myself, why is this person getting this kind of healing and this other person's just getting this?
Do you
And
think
it
it's
just
the
dropped in.
permission? Do you think because they've done that deeper unconscious work and they're reframing the limiting beliefs, the programs, the conditioning that's kind of keeping them unwell? Do you think it's because they're kind of like open to it somehow?
Yeah, yeah, and I also think that um, so inside of us is all the ages we've ever been. So inside of me, there's a little tiny baby Rachel, and there's a little 3-year-old
Oh,
Rachel,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so I think when you consciously go back there, you sort of include all parts of yourself
yes. It's so
rather than
comprehensive. That's the word.
yes,
I keep
that's a
getting
good
that
word.
it's complete, it's
Yes, yeah,
comprehensive, it's that absolute, the total, not just parts of ourselves. Like we love to fix parts of ourselves, don't we?
yes, that's a
Like the
good way of
temporary
putting it.
fix. Yeah, it's
Yes,
like
yeah,
because it's easy and we're busy and life is
yeah,
full and but really all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. And if you
yeah,
know, it's so interesting too because I've done a lot of work, as you know, and it's kind of like,
yeah,
it can get frustrating because it's kind of like, oh my God, that thing's resurfacing again, that pattern's resurfacing again. I thought I dealt with that, like, so
yeah,
it really is that ever evolving journey too. It's not like, you have a healing, it's a miracle, and you're gonna, it is about that self-devotion, that commitment to that lifelong journey of growth and healing.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
it
And we
is,
can
yeah.
often give our power away when we go to a healer. And
Yes.
I take that quite seriously, because people are coming to you with this, I want you to fix me, and without realizing that they're fixing themselves. And
Yes.
I'm really passionate about handing that power back
Oh my
to the
God, I love that
person.
so much. See, you
Yeah,
are the
and
medicine woman.
oh, thank
It's
you.
it's more empowering.
It
This
is so
business
much
of
more
I'm the
important.
guru,
Yeah,
that guru mentality of like, I'm going to fix you. I'm not going to let you know how I'm fixing you.
yeah,
But you need to keep coming back to get fixed, right?
Yeah. No,
It's so disempowering.
it is so disempowering.
So
Yeah.
disempowering. In saying that, though, often it is one healing. It might take a lot more than one healing. I know that for me, I call it like maintenance. Like
Yeah.
you have a group of healers that kind of maintain you. Almost like it's like top you back up or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it becomes like a co-creation when you have a client who comes in who's so disempowered and just wants you to fix them. And when
Yes.
you give that power back to them, it becomes more like a co-creation. So,
Yes.
one healing might not be what they need,
Yes.
um, but it becomes more of a
A
team.
collaborative,
Yeah,
co-creative,
yeah, very
as
much
opposed
so.
to a codependent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
exactly.
they're in the driver's seat then
I
of
love
of
that so much.
their
Yeah.
healing rather than a passenger in the back. Yeah,
And that's true leadership, I believe,
yeah,
um, to lead others to realize that they had the power all along.
yeah,
So beautiful. Yay. So, what
yeah.
legacy do you hope to leave in the spiritual and healing community? I mean, you're already doing it, you've already done so much, but yeah, I know that, you do everything very deliberately. So, what legacy do you hope to leave in the community here on Earth? Yeah.
Yeah, so my legacy, I would hope is about authenticity, and yeah, really, it's something that I'm passionate about. And some people say, many people say, you're so authentic, and I say I work at it every day, and they go, how can you work at being authentic?
You are actually. You're very authentic.
And but it's something that there's so many programs that we have that we're so unaware of, and when you're doing something, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it because it's a program, or you think that you should, and did it
The
so
autopilot. Yeah.
yeah, autopilot. So yeah, so that's I'm hoping my legacy will be showing and guiding and helping and co-creating with people to find their true authenticity, their authentic selves, whatever that looks like. I see individuals as trees, and the trees are so different. There's not one tree that grows exactly alike. And
What a beautiful analogy. Yeah.
yeah, and discovering how beautiful, yeah, whether you've got like a big trunk or a wrinkly trunk or lots of bark and
Yeah.
things broken off here or there, or what, like really just getting to know who you are, what you are, because we're all here with something very, very different to offer to the world. And like when I thought about teaching, I'm thinking, oh, how could you? I don't want anybody to be like me. And I've been blessed with some amazing teachers, Graham, Gale, and Orion, are
Yeah.
three that come to mind, and they all encourage people to find their own authenticity and do things their way, and
Exactly.
not do Orion, or not do
Yes.
Graham or Gale, and that's been a blessing in my life, and that's something that I hope that anybody I interact with is left with as an essence of who I am, that I
That's a
encourage them
beautiful
to.
way to end the podcast, my love. That's
Oh,
so
thank you.
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much. So, I know people can find you through that beautiful wellbeing centre that you work at. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, what is that one?
Yeah, so I work through the Port Stephens Wellness Centre, and they can also contact me. So I encourage people to text me, and
Yes.
I get back to them when I can,
Yes.
and interact that way. I very, very rarely answer phones and things like that, and I wouldn't want the wellness centre to be my secretary. But
True. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. So they can contact me on my mobile number.
And they can
Um,
text you as opposed to phone. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
texter too,
yeah,
because we're in session. We're in session. So it's
yeah,
kind of like, well, you could try and phone me, but you're never going to get through. So,
yeah,
texting is always a really good way to go, because then you can get back to someone, you know, when it's convenient. So, and I
Yes.
know that
Yeah.
you do get back to people. So, yay. So we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes so that people can find you. Beautiful
Thank you.
white raven, beautiful dear raven sister. Love you so much. Yay.
I
Thank you
love you
so
too,
much for coming
Susie.
on.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much.
having me. I feel very, very blessed and very, very grateful. Thank you.
I'd love to have you back on again, my love. So,
Oh,
yay. Talk
yay. Thank you
soon.
so much. Yeah,
Thank
talk soon.
you.